and racists and bigots. And if you're going to give a voice to one, you should give a voice to another. And vice versa, if you're going to ban one, you should ban the other. Now, Tommy Robinson wanted to speak to you about that, so we are going to allow him to come on air and give that right of reply. And he will be challenged, as indeed anyone who comes onto this show is. So that's coming up. Make sure you stay with us here on the BBC Asian Network. It's 9 minutes past 12. You're listening to Nihar live on the BBC Asian Network. In the first hour of the show, I asked you the question, do you believe that extremists should be banned from being able to air their views from TV, radio, on the internet, uploading YouTube videos? Should we ban these individuals? Or does that mean that we can't debate with them? We can't challenge their views? In the first hour, we talked about people like Anjem Choudhury, and we had people call in and mention the name of Tommy Robinson, former leader of the English Defence League, and said that he said lots of hateful things about Islam and incited racial hatred, and yet we had to listen to him, is what people said. So, Tommy Robinson, who was listening, called in to the BBC Asian Network saying that he would like to have a right of reply. And here he is. Good afternoon, Tommy.
Good afternoon. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. Tommy, tell me, do you think that in your former incarnation as leader of the EDL, that your views were hateful and incited racial hatred?
No. I'm yet to find anybody who can tell me one thing I've ever said in my life that's racist. I ask a lot of people whenever I've been debating them, what have I said that's wrong or even incorrect? The truth nowadays is seen as hatred. And that's the problem. Since we last spoke, obviously a lot has happened since then. And if we just look at what's happened, which I've seen play out, we've seen the Islamists take over of schools in Birmingham. Yeah, we've seen the ISIS. We've had a couple of beheadings in between. We've seen the Rotherham report. These are all things that we were talking about. These are all things that we were being called extremists for. So when people, I'm listening to you saying he's incited racial hatred, incited religious hatred. Not once in my life have I ever done any of that.
Have you ever said Islam is fascist, Islam is violent, and we've had enough?
I have. Yes, I have said that.
So how is that not inciting racial hatred? How is that not leading in some way to the fact that we have seen a 65% rise in Islamophobic crimes in London in the past year?
I'll tell you how it's not. It's because an opinion that Islam is fascist, yeah? When we see literal Islam, or literalist taking of the scripture, which we're seeing ISIS do, it's fascism. We see Anjem Choudhury's group do it. It's fascism. That's fascist. An ideology that propagates it to be superior to other communities and other ways of thinking, and it was just to subjugate them.
But why do you?
It's fascism.
But why do you take what Anjem Choudhury says to be the face and the views and the opinions of Muslims around the world, over 1 billion of them, when I don't? Wait a minute, Tommy. I don't look at a Ku Klux Klan member and think, well, that's what all white people are like. I don't look at Anders Breivik. I don't look at the Oklahoma boomer Timothy McVeigh and think, my gosh, look at all white people. I don't think, because I was chased down the street by skinheads calling me Packy, that all white people are racists, scum and fascists, do I?
Okay, no, I'm not saying all Muslims are racist or fascist, am I? But
you're saying the religion is.
What you asked me is, was it wrong that I said Islam is a fascist ideology? That's what you asked me. In my opinion, which is my opinion, and where do I base my opinion on? I base my opinion on a lifetime of growing up in Luton. I base my opinion on 5 years of non-stop studying, reading and listening to not what I'm saying, but what Muslims are saying worldwide. Yeah, what Muslim leaders are saying.
Are you ignoring the Muslim leaders who say that Islam is a religion of peace and love? Are you saying ignoring the Muslims who want to meet with rabbis and Catholic priests and Buddhist priests and Hindus and Sikhs are you saying that they're all fascists?
No. You asked me, was it wrong that I said Islam is a fascist ideology? That's what you asked me. No, I'm not ignoring them. When you're talking about...
You also said it doesn't incite racial hatred.
It doesn't. If I have an opinion, say, for example, I say Scientology. If I think Scientology is backward, yeah? If anyone is going to say I'm inciting racial hatred. Scientology is an ideology. Islam is an ideology. It's not racial hatred. You can be black, white.
There are a vast amount of Muslims
it's
in this country, far more than there are Scientologists.
Because there's more Muslims, we shouldn't be able to. So because there's more people who think a certain way, which is what it is, it's a way of thinking. We shouldn't be able to speak our opinion on it because it's inciting of hatred. But
if you say Islam is fascist, Islam is violent, and we've had enough, and then some of your supporters go out and perhaps try and graffiti over a mosque or attack Muslims on the street, and we're seeing this happening. You are putting your hands up in the air and saying my comments have nothing to do with that. There's no link between me describing a religion followed by over 1 billion people in the world as fascist and violent. You don't think that in any way incites people to commit violent acts?
So let's view that in a different way. Let's take a verse within the Quran that...
No. Let's view it in the way...
Are you saying that the verse in the Quran that says that you should murder and you should cut off the feet and hands, are you saying that verse is inciting racial hatred? How many Muslims do you know of your friend circle? And you were on the show and told me you have Muslim friends who are more than happy to cut people's hands and legs off. In the same way, you can look at the Bible, and there are plenty of things in the Bible which are... Your argument there, Nahal, your argument is that because I said that, somehow it's inciting racial hatred. And now you're trying to argue the opposite. When we have the verses in the Quran which ISIS are acting on, which leave these killers acting on, people are not acting on what I'm saying to kill anyone or murder anyone.
But by you tarring an entire faith based on the acts of individuals who are barbaric, the majority of Muslims in this country argue that they are barbaric. They do not represent the views of mainstream Islam. By you saying the entire... But you don't say, do you, that ISIS is fascist? You don't say Islamic extremists are fascist. You say the whole religion is. Therefore, you are tarring everybody with the same brush.
No, by saying Islam is a religion of peace, that's an opinion. That's not factual. When David Cameron's come out and says that...
But that opinion doesn't lead to people being attacked on the street, does it, Tommy? Your opinion does.
No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't at all. And when you're talking about having Anjem Chowdhury on shows, etc., should we be doing it? Yes, we should. And one of the most encouraging times I've seen is when Majid Nawaz was debating him. I've seen Dr. Osama Hassan debating him. But by not wanting people and giving him a platform, the only problem you have is why aren't more imams coming out and debating him on theologically, on the scripture, on apostasy, on adultery, on Sharia? Why are we not... That would be encouraging, but I'm sorry, but I think that there are a large number of imams in this country that share a sympathetic view on adultery, on apostasy, and on Sharia. And until you start getting somewhere, but when people are trying to equate, the biggest argument you've got here is because I said Islam is a fascist ideology, somehow that's inciting hatred. But when we have verses in the Quran that are being
then why weren't you more specific?
Are being acted upon. These verses are being acted upon. You still push to say that it's peaceful and these scripture's peaceful. They're being acted upon. People are having their heads cut off. People are being butchered and murdered.
But Tommy, it's because I don't judge all Catholics by the actions of Catholic paedophile priests. In the same way that you shouldn't think of Islam in its entirety and all of those people who love and follow it as being followers of a fascist, violent ideology.
A literal interpretation. It comes down to an interpretation, which we're seeing...
There are parts of the Bible that says you should walk around without any clothes on. People don't go around doing that.
No, they don't, but people do go around chopping people's heads off. We have an entire state that are taking it literal. We have an entire state. This is one of the biggest problems currently in the world, facing the world, is an entire state has formed, taking a literal interpretation of scripture that leads them, when we have Boko Haram, for example, who are taking sexual slaves, and they're saying that Allah commands them to do that. When we have ISIS, who are doing exactly the same, they are raping and pillaging and saying that they are taking actions of...
Tommy, you have five Arab Muslim states joining the military campaign against ISIS. You have Shia militias. You have Sunnis who are also joining the battle against ISIS. To pretend that ISIS is somehow a spokesperson or a representation of every Muslim on the planet Earth is absurd. Yes, they are.
You're putting words in my mouth. How have I pretended that that's a view of every Muslim in the world?
You believe that the ideology that it's based on is fascist and violent and that all of Islam is that.
No, did I? No, did I say that?
Well,
Did
you
I say
said
that?
you said
Then
you said
then you're
Islam
putting
is
words in my mouth.
fascist. You said Islam is violent, and we've had enough. Now, I
Yeah.
mean, you didn't. You weren't smart enough to be specific about it, were you?
Smart enough to be specific and say Islamist. You're talking about 3 or 4 years ago. You're talking about a few, or even a few hours after Lee Rigby had his head cast. That's what you're talking about.
This is back from The Guardian in 2013.
Yeah. Well, 2 hours after Lee Rigby had his head cut off. So sorry I didn't mix my words properly at that specific point when I was angry and frustrated. When we say Islamist is a interpretation of Islam that people wish to push and spread and force on others, yeah? And that is what we're seeing. Okay?
So just to clarify, just to clarify, because I'm a little bit confused. So you would like to revisit that particular statement and say, actually, what you meant was Islamism is fascist, Islamism is violent, and we've had enough.
Political Islam, yeah.
Not Islam. Not Islam.
But the Islamism I talk about, to all these people who are enforcing it, that's Islam. That's their Islam. That's their interpretation of Islam. It's an Islamist ideology, which is political Islam. But the problem we have, so instead, we're never going to get to the root cause of the problem while we say they're not Muslim and they're not following any teachings of Islam, because they are. Okay. So
yes, they are. You're absolutely right that they do feel that their interpretation of Islam is the correct one. Can I just move on to some tweets? Can I just move on?
Should not be that I said that. Surely, with everything that's going on worldwide.
No, but the debate. The debate is by people like you who are controversial figures about people like you who have been accused of inciting racial hatred by the recent. Well, there's plenty of people on Twitter that do. I mean, some people have tweeted me talking of tweets saying, "Did you ever tweet, for instance, Tommy, what do you call a Pakistani that don't? No,
I didn't.
Smell?
Come on, man. I can make up screenshots. These people. There's people who dedicate their lives to trying to harass me on Twitter.
Over a third of girls are married before they're 15 because Muslim men want to, and then a sexual swear word, children. Have you ever tweeted that?
That's something about Bangladesh, actually.
Yes.
That was copied from an article from a Hindu woman. That was just a copy and paste of what a Hindu woman had put out.
So you cut and pasted it and tweeted it?
Yeah, because it was showing that they want to lower the age of sexual intercourse and marriage in Bangladesh to not. And when I'm talking about this point, exactly what I was just saying, yeah.
The majority of paedophiles in this country are white men, Tommy. They're people like you.
Of course they are. Of course they are. The reason why is because the majority of people in this country are white. Now we have an epidemic. Nationwide epidemic. I attended a Hindu temple this week for a conference on child exploitation. You are seeing every community in this country having to form links and try to tackle and highlight and educate their women, educate their daughters on the threats and what's happening, because the police have failed, social services have failed, the Islamic community has failed in general with their political leaders, with their imams in these towns and cities. Now, my point is, which if you let me just finish that one point, is that if Boko Haram are saying it's because Allah commands them, if ISIS are saying it's because their religion justifies it, when we have this epidemic that we have, when we look at Rotherham and we have 1,400 children, when we look at Oxford, when we look at Blackpool, when we look at every single town and city that has this epidemic of these gangs, the minute you try to look to the root cause of the problem, or you even try to mention that maybe these men are justifying it through religious scripture, maybe they're not. Okay, maybe they're not. But as soon as you mention that, you're Islamophobic. You're racist. Yeah? And this is what's happened. And that actual way of shouting people down, that actual way of shouting people down is now in a report. That is what has facilitated the rape of 1,400 girls.
Okay, all right,
this
Tommy,
weak argument that I'm
okay. Can I just bring you back to this Bangladeshi tweet? Why did you tweet this?
Yeah. Why did I tweet it?
And did you as women? Was this from a Hindu person who said probably is Muslim men wanna, and then sexual swear word children? Was that a quote, or was that you saying that?
No, that was her quote. That was her quote.
So what? What did you? I mean, you didn't hashtag it or anything. You didn't. It looked like that you were condoning that opinion. Do you? Do you believe that Muslim men want to have sex with children?
If they want to lower the age of 15 for marriage and they're voting on it, then yeah, obviously they do.
But why didn't you ask it as a question, not as a statement?
Well, again, what we're resorting to now is looking at a tweet like that, rather than us talking about why they want to lower the age of sex to 9. Yeah, rather than us highlighting and talking and debating that, we're talking about maybe I could have dressed it up a bit better.
No, it's
Again,
not about.
it's
But
exactly the
no,
same
but
as what
Tommy,
happened
it
with
buys
Jack
into
Ford. That portion of
into whether you have a T. Robinson new era or not. This buys into the opinion that many have that there is no new era for Tommy Robinson. That you're the same old Islamophobe that you were before, and that you want to tweet these provocative things because you didn't put Bangladesh. You didn't question it in any intelligent way. You were arguing the passion post the killing of drummer Lee Rigby led to you saying what you said before. But this is in the cold light of day that you've said problem is Muslim men, or you're quoting someone. You're not questioning it. You're not asking a question. You're just saying it. So what if people then ask you the question, Tommy, is this what you think? Do you think all Muslim men want to have sex with children?
No, of course I don't.
So why didn't you question this tweet? Why didn't you post tweet it?
Why are you picking that tweet instead of picking a tweet where I put
because
out saying
Tommy,
no, listen,
go on.
I put a tweet out saying the Muslim lads I've grown up with in Luton would physically beat up Muslims for acting the way they have in Rotherham. Yeah, why are you not picking that? Why are you not picking the tweet where I put out saying if
because
anyone
this tweet contradicts that.
In light of Rotherham, if you go out and attack a mosque, you're a moron. You are an idiot. If you go out and attack it and you shout abuse at an individual Muslim woman walking down the street, you are also an idiot and a moron. And why are you not picking tweets?
Well, that's all very laudable, Tommy. But if you don't, because all of those tweets are undermined by this one, quite obviously, Tommy.
Why are they? Why? If you want to lower the age of sex and marriage to under 15, in my view, you want to have sex with kids. Now, what's wrong with me saying that? That's disgusting practice.
Okay.
And I think you should be picking at the practice rather than picking at what I say about it.
Okay. Wait a minute, Tommy. Just stop you there for a second, my friend. I do want to keep you on here, so please stay with us. Yasser, my friend, is on the line. Yasser, good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon, Nihal. How are you doing?
I'm very well. Sorry to have kept you waiting. Yasser, please tell me, should people such as Anjem Choudhury and people such as Tommy Robinson, if you equate the two of them, do you believe they should be banned?
I have been waiting for Anjem Choudhury to be banned, to be off the screens and off the radio for a long time, and I jumped for joy, to be honest with you, when I heard that he was going to be banned. Tommy Robinson, I don't hold in a similar regard. I don't agree with everything he says, but I don't think he's anywhere near as extreme and as horrid as Anjem Choudhury is. Basically, to be honest with you, I blame the community that all the communities that in the Muslim communities that we live in, we have failed to stop these people. It's been going on for a number of years, and it's spreading. Anjem Choudhury's message is spreading, as you can see from what's happening in Syria, or the amount of people that have gone over. I can see it all around me in our communities. The communities have failed to stop these people. So, as a last resort, the government at the point now where they have no choice. It's not.
So you think it's a failure on behalf of the British Muslim community to deal with this themselves that's meant that now the government has to step in?
Absolutely, 100%.
Interesting.
As far as Tommy Robinson is concerned, I probably agree with 95% of what he's saying.
Okay.
Some of the people that are in the EDL, they are the wrong people. They are extremists, and Tommy should have not had anything to do with those people.
Well, he's left the EDL now.
But when he was in there, that obviously there were people who were racist, who were from the BNP and what have you. But to try and stop, I think. Tommy said what he's saying. It is wrong. I mean, what we have to do. I mean, I consider myself a modern Muslim. We have to move on. We have to modernise, and we have to accept criticism. That's all he's doing.
All right. Yes, sir. Stay with us. Yes, sir. Hassan is in Tooting in London. Yes, sir. Stay there. Hassan, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Neil. Yeah,
what would you like to say?
Well, I just want to pick up on the last point. What Tommy is saying is not correct, because what I feel like, he's blaming everyone. He's painting every Muslim with the same brush as usual. I've heard him before on various stations, and he just comes out with the same old stuff.
Should he be banned?
He condemns it.
But should someone like that be banned?
Banned from what? There's democracy.
Banned from being on TV, banned from being on the radio, because that's what the Home Secretary is suggesting, that extremists, and of course some people wouldn't regard Tommy Robinson as an extremist, and they wouldn't regard Anjem Choudhury as an extremist, but should people who have extreme views be banned?
People like that cause fury, so therefore they should be banned.
Tommy, what would you say to that?
I'd say that, look, I offer my hand of friendship to any Muslim in Britain that wishes to oppose fascism in the sense of that, not just far-right fascism as well, because that should be opposed, yeah? And racism should be opposed. And those statistics that you're talking about, women being attacked, it's all wrong, yeah? But any Muslim in Britain that wishes to oppose the sort of barbaric views that we're seeing propagated in their religion's name, it's not me doing it, okay? It's not me that's saying this is representative of Islam, it's them. And that's why I say they need to be debated. We need to see theological debate to Anjem Chowdhury. We need to see more people like Dr. Osama Hassan. But what we must understand is when Dr. Osama Hassan came out 5 years ago or 6 years ago and he spoke out, it was 4 leading imams in London who signed things calling for his death. We have a problem. In Indonesia and in India, where we have hundreds of millions of Muslims, only 30 to 40 have signed up to fight for ISIS. In Britain, we have 2.4 million Muslims, and we have over 1,000 young men who have grown up in our communities who have now headed out for that barbaric way of life.
Well, the government is saying it's in the hundreds. There's dispute over the numbers.
The government is saying 600. And again, I am quoting a Muslim MP who's a very brave Muslim MP from Birmingham.
Khalid Mahmood, I know exactly what you're talking about.
Who's come out and said 1,500, okay?
Yeah.
So again, that's not me. I'm quoting a Muslim MP. Now, we have a massive problem. And when you're talking about people feeling offended, we need to get used to it, yeah? Because we feel offended, okay? People are going to feel offended on either side if we're going to get to the root cause and solve this problem. And it's going to get worse, and there's going to be bad times ahead. And it is. And until everyone stops saying, oh, you're Islamophobic for saying that, or your view, if you're going to call everyone that says that this way of life and this what we're seeing with our own eyes of ISIS and of these groups, if you're going to say everyone that says that's fascism, yeah, if you're going to say that, you're going to call the whole country extreme.
All right.
This is now a mainstream view.
All right, okay? Tommy, let me just bring Roshan Ali in this conversation as well. Roshan Ali, welcome to the conversation.
Thanks, Neil. Thanks.
What would you like to say? Now, you grew up as a Shia, is that right?
Yeah, that's right.
Would you like to see people banned?
People what, sorry?
Would you like to see people with extreme views banned from our TVs?
No, absolutely not. No, absolutely not. I think it's important to know what's out there, just like you said, so that we can challenge it. I want to just respond to a few things that Tommy said. Firstly, I don't think he's a racist because Islam is not a race. It's a religion. So you can, because I'm a brown Muslim, there's going to be Arab Muslims, white Muslims, black Muslims. So his views are not racist views. They could be considered Islamophobic. Secondly, I don't think he's against Muslims in general. I think he's against the Islamic extremist ideologies, which I have read the Quran being a Muslim, and I can say that certain verses in the Quran, you cannot justify them. Wife beating, for example, cannot be justified. So I think people say you need to put this in context. You need to contextualize things, but there's some things that you cannot put into context, and this is in the Quran, chapter 4, verse 34. If your wives are rebellious against you, you can beat them. First, you don't have sex with them, and etc., and then you can beat them. So I think Tommy has a point, and I think, and I'm not saying that I'm not Muslim because of that. I am a proud Muslim, and I think that the Quran was revolutionary for its time. But I think we need a New Testament. I think we need to edit it and reform it so that it's more compatible with the 21st century, especially in the Bible.
Hassan, you wanted to come in?
The New Testament. What this is meant to be written, hundreds of years ago it's supposed to come down from God. So how do we rewrite the Quran? What I want to say to Tommy is you mustn't paint every Muslim with the same brush. Just because what happened in Palestine, I don't blame every Jew. I have Jewish friends, but it seems like you're blaming me.
Yeah, but okay, it may feel like I'm blaming you. Tell me why. What have I said that you've done? What have I said that every Muslim's done? And when have I said it's representative of the majority of Muslims? Because of who I am, and because of my background, and because of what I've done, and because of what the group I led, whenever I say anything, sometimes I copy and paste comments from Muslims, yeah, and I put them on Twitter, and I watch the reaction where people react with fury. And this is just a comment that I copied from a Muslim. But because it's me saying it, because of my history, you automatically think, oh, he's tarring us all. I'm not tarring you all, okay? And I am well aware that the majority of Muslims are disgusted with the actions of ISIS. I'm well aware that the majority of Muslims are disgusted with the actions of paedophiles.
But Tommy, why didn't you then put a caveat to the tweet from this Hindu person saying problem is Muslim men want to then sexual swear word have with children? I mean, why didn't you put a caveat to that? Why didn't you tweet afterwards going, this is not my opinion, this is the opinion of someone else? Because you can understand why someone would look at this Bangladeshi tweet that you put out and think that that's your opinion.
Well, no, it's not, because you're picking one tweet out, probably a flurry of conversation.
But it's important.
Where at the same time I've said many things which I've tried to highlight to you, a lot of the tweets that I've put out, which people just cherry pick, like you're cherry picking. You're cherry picking
well, it's
one
not
tweet
irrelevant.
out of 300 in a
That's your opinion, Tommy, and that's what you believe in.
What's my opinion?
Well, whatever you tweet is your opinion because you're retweeting something. That means you believe in it.
No, that doesn't. No, it doesn't.
No, it's not. No, it's not.
A retweet is not an endorsement. I retweet lots of things.
My opinion is that if men want to lower the age of sex and marriage to below 15, which I believe the topic they were talking about was 9 years old, my opinion is those men are sick. Now, I'm not ashamed of that opinion.
I think that's disgusting, but that's nothing to do with the religion.
But then why didn't you put problem is Bangladeshi men want it, not Muslim men?
What faith were these men that were doing it?
Well, they happen to be Muslim. But that doesn't mean it's Islam related in the same way. Jimmy Savile doesn't represent you.
But when you say it's not Islam related, they wish to lower the age to the age that the Prophet practiced. It is Islam related, and you need to combat it.
But Tommy, at that time, there were royal families in Europe who were willing to do that as well. You know, times have moved on.
Richard the Lionheart had an 11-year-old wife. Times have moved on, but they're trying to bring them back.
I don't know a single one of my Muslim friends who wants a 9-year-old wife, Tommy. You know, So why didn't? Yeah, but you didn't say Bangladeshi men. You said Muslim men. Now I know you're saying you're. I know you're saying
you're taking that out of context in the same way we have a whole entire state taking the Quran out of context.
You're saying that I'm taking it out of context, but why didn't you, if you are so open-minded as you're trying to make out you are, that you weren't aware, you weren't self-aware enough to say that tweet would have ramifications?
No, look, in view of all the recent situation in Britain with what we see as an epidemic of Muslim grooming gangs, don't you think you should be talking about why men want to lower the age to 9? So
you do think it's a problem with Muslim men and young girls then?
I do believe there is a big problem in this country, and not just in this country, worldwide, which we're seeing, okay? I went to the conference, which was a Hindu conference at a temple, which was about child exploitation. I listened to a police officer from the Metropolitan Child Exploitation Gang, where they're dealing with a group of Somali men. All these groups of men were Muslim that they're tackling. All of these epidemics.
But by your own, you know, paedophiles. We had recently a teacher who killed himself after being accused by the police of being involved in taking pictures of young boys at the school where he taught. He was white.
Yeah,
I think the problem.
The majority of paedophiles are white, and in Britain, we have a majority white country. That's to be expected. But when we have a statistic such as 4% of this country is Muslim, when we see entire communities, we see Sikhs being targeted, we see Hindus being targeted, we see every community being targeted, where their daughters are being targeted by these gangs that are networked across this entire country. And it's not my fault they're Muslim, man. Yeah, that's not my fault. It's not.
What about the Eastern European gangs that traffic women all over? But anyway, listen, Roshan Ali, you wanted to come in, Roshan Ali?
Yeah, sorry, I just wanted to say that, I agree that it's not a whole Muslim problem, but the part of the problem is with the other ethnic groups who do this, they're just bad people. Whereas with the Muslims, a lot of people want to emulate the Prophet. The Prophet lived in a different era, and he married a 6-year-old girl, consummated the marriage at the age of 9, and people look up to that. People don't speak out against it. So